In an industry that's quick to say you can't,
we're here to say you can.
Helping musicians succeed,
No matter where they are.
Unsigned artists matter.
Why isn't anyone talking about this stuff?
There must be a reason.
the Afton Podcast.
By musicians.
For musicians.
Welcome to the very first episode of the brand new Afton Podcast, or the Afton Cast, if you will, recorded at the studios of our home city of Portland, Oregon. With your host, Carl and Ryan. Ryan is the co-founder and CEO of Afton. I'm the media and new venues manager of Afton. And both of us are lifelong professional musicians who have recorded albums, toured, played many shows, and have navigated the pitfalls and landmines of the music industry throughout our careers. The goal of this podcast is to help out fellow musicians and artists on their own paths to fame and fortune with advice, tips, and lessons for aspiring musicians. As we develop this podcast, we'll bring in guests like other musicians and artists, promoters, venue owners, label reps, engineers, or really anybody else we can think of who has wisdom for young musicians or people just starting out on this path. We'll have exclusive contests and we'll answer listener questions and get to the issues that matter most to you. But right now, I'd like to pass the mic to Ryan to tell you a little bit about Afton and what we do.
My name is Ryan, and I'm the founder of Afton. I started this company officially in 2004, but the first shows that we actually put on were in 2002, and I was a freshman in college. And I had a band called Faded. I'm a local musician myself. I play guitar, I sing, I write songs, I've recorded albums. And back then, all I wanted was to play shows in Portland at legit music venues, but I couldn't get any shows. And the venues wouldn't return my calls, and I'd go down to the venue with my demo, and all their shows were full for the next 6 months for all their local artist showcases. So I was referred to this girl who books one show a month at the Meow Meow, and I call her up. She's a promoter. And basically, I had to pay $300 to her in order for her to put me on her show because there's so many bands that wanted to play. And I just didn't feel comfortable with that. I knew I could sell tickets. I knew I had a fan base. I knew I had people that wanted to see me perform live, but I didn't want to fall short and lose $150 or $200 on the show. And so pretty much in desperation, I sat down one day and I called the owner of the Meow Meow, and somehow he picked up. I got him at the right time. And I asked, I just want to play a show at your venue. When is the next opening? And he told me the next opening is 6 months from now for local artists. And it just didn't make any sense to me. I went to his website while I was on the phone and I looked and I said, that doesn't make any sense. This shows you're closed every Sunday for the next 2 months. So how do you not have room for me? And that's when he replied, booking local artists is so risky. I don't want to open up for a local show and lose money. And so I'd rather be closed those nights where I don't lose money than open up for the local shows. And that's where the light bulb kind of went off in my head. I thought to myself, all of my friend bands and my band and everyone who is in a local band or a local rap group wants to play these venues, and they're closed half of the month because local artists are that risky to book. And the only thing holding me back from playing the legendary Meow Meow, where I just saw brand new when they came on tour, is renting out the venue so that the venue owner doesn't lose money. That's when I booked my first show. I rented out the room, and I put every penny of our band fund that we'd worked 3 years to build into paying the rent. And I was on the hook for it. And if the show went bad, I would lose all my money. So I got a couple of friends who were in bands that went to my college to play the show. And we basically decided, let's all sell tickets. Let's make it the biggest show we've ever played. And what ended up happening is we had 230 tickets sold. And it was an amazing show. And it was one of my favorite shows I've ever played. And I remember that night, I knew it was a good show, but the owner, Todd, comes up to me and he says, how did you do this? I said, what do you mean? He says, most local shows I have, or people book that are all local bands, have 30 people at them. And you just had 230 people come into my room. And that was the first time I realized that what I'm doing is working, and having a community of artists that are committed to promote the show and sell tickets and make it as big as they can is the way that we can make local shows work. So for the next several months, we continued to book shows just for our band and bands that we were friends with. We did about one a month, but soon we realized there was this huge need for shows, just like the ones I was putting on, for everyone in our music community. So I started having rappers, I started having metal bands come up to me and ask for more shows. That's when I started putting on shows for them, and basically started doing everything I was doing for my band, renting out the venue, running the show, taking on all the risk, and helping promote it for all of these other artists. And very quickly, bands from other cities and rappers from other cities started reaching out, and that's when we started to expand into Seattle and Phoenix and San Jose and Denver. Now by 2004, I basically dropped out of college and decided to pursue this business of helping local artists full time. And that was a crazy decision, but I was literally spending more time in my dorm room booking bands than I was in class. So even looking back now, I still remember being that kid booking bands out of my dorm room on my Dell desktop. Our music industry is just so quick to tell unsigned musicians that they can't. But Afton exists to tell you that you can. We help music artists all over the US and Canada play more shows, grow their fan base, and learn how to make their own success through every stage of their development. And I wish that Afton existed when I was in high school as a band or in college, because back then there wasn't anything that supported local artists. So our company started off by booking local artists on shows, and that's something we still do. We do 1,000 shows every year. But it was important to us to help every artist, even the artists not booking with us, and that's why we built our free My Afton platform that has non-booking features and services and resources for everybody. Even if you don't book with us, we want to help you. Many players in the music industry don't help unsigned artists enough, but we're different. We're here to focus on you. That's our entire goal. Our mission is to help every musician that we talk to and encounter, and that's why we have this podcast and our blog and all of these resources and tools. Because I remember being a local musician. I remember the feeling you have of, how do I do this? Who's supporting me? Does anyone care about my music? And how do I build my fan base? The reason I built this company and started this is to help you with that feeling and tell you that you can succeed and you can make your own success, and basically to show you everything that we've learned along this journey. I used to be a college kid in a dorm room booking bands, and now we have a full-time staff. Now we have a company that operates in Canada and the United States, and we've done tours and we've done local shows, and we work with over 800 venues. And what I want to do is take all of that knowledge and all of these things that we've learned and pass that on to you. And that's why I do this. I don't want you to have to feel like I did. I don't want you to have to feel like you're all on your own. We're here to help. From the very beginning, it was important that anything I asked my bands and rappers that I booked on my shows to do were things that I did myself and that I found worked. And that includes selling tickets, promoting myself, going out and hustling, and just making sure to make each show as big as possible. And that's where our fairness principles came into play of the artists that draw the most get the most pay, the longer set, the time slot they pick. Everything that I designed in our system of booking was to reward the artists that are promoting and putting in the most work to get fans to the show. And we want to prove the music industry wrong. Everyone tells us we can't. You're unsigned. You're a local musician. You're not good enough. And you're way too risky to book. And we exist here to say no. The local musician community and local artists are the ground floor of the music industry. Every major artist you listen to and you look up to started out just like you. And so the more we can help cultivate our scene and our music community and teach local artists they can do this, the better the entire music industry is going to be.
As we started developing this podcast, I had to think back to my early days in high school and playing music and how crazy it was to even think about booking a show. I mean, you had no idea where to go, who to talk to, how to do it. In my day, there wasn't any email. You had to call everybody or go down to the venue yourselves. I imagine, you kind of went through the same thing. I mean, 2004, you started the company. You were playing, I'm guessing, high school, right?
Right.
So what was it like for you?
So that's what I remember from back in the day, right? It's like I was in high school, I was in this band, I was sending my demo out, nobody responded, no venues wanted to book me. I thought I sucked. And really, guys, when you're not hearing back from bookers or venues, it's not because they think your music sucks. It's because they don't know who you are, they're not sure if you'll draw. And so one of our main missions is whether you play 0 shows for us or 1 show for us or 20 shows for us, we want to teach you that your music is valuable. You are good enough to play any room you want, and we want to show you that you can build a fan base on your own very easily to where you're going to start getting attention from the venue owners. So the first thing I learned was, hey, venue owner, here's my single, check it out, it's really good. Didn't work so well. But the same venue, as soon as I emailed them and said, hey, I just played a show and drew 50 people. Yep. Can I play your venue? I got immediate response.
Because that's what they care about. At some point, I think every musician thinks, I'm going to make it, or at least be somewhat successful. And the difference is money. And whether you acknowledge that or not is kind of the difference between how fast you succeed or grow or not. And when it comes to that success, like what you were saying, was my song good enough? Well, what I've learned about musicians, including myself, who I don't consider myself being a great musician. I'm not an insanely good guitar player or an incredible singer, but I have a work ethic that makes up for it. And that's number one in my eyes, is how much you hustle to get your music out there. For this particular podcast is, some advice for musicians to do that, to sell tickets. Because the catch, if you will, with working with Afton is, can you sell 20 tickets?
Right. Yeah, we want to book artists that will promote. We want to have every artist bring their share of the crowd. And basically, it's a collaborative effort, right? I mean, how many shows have you and I played where we're the only band that brought anyone to the show? I mean, I'd sit there being like, these bands are cool, but I wish I would have been booked with bands like me that drew 40 people. I talked to a lot of venue owners who actually tell me most of their local shows have less than 20 people at them.
Yeah, I've played those.
Yeah. And so that's what we want to avoid, right? It's like we don't want to put on shows that no one goes to. We don't want to have like a culture or a collaboration of bands that don't feel like a big crowd is not important.
Right.
And what I've found, what's crazy is, to a T, every show that has low attendance when it happens is not fun for people.
No.
But on the other hand, every show that's a 300-person show at Afton, everyone is ecstatic and wanting to book more.
Of course.
So it's kind of this snowball effect. It's like the more everyone tries, the more everyone hustles, the more everyone's committed to each other. Each artist is committed to the other artists on the bill.
Right.
And the harder they work, the more they get paid. But I mean, beyond the payment, the best part is playing for 200, 300, 400 people.
Absolutely.
And that's something that's always been important to me, because time after time, as a band and with Afton, I call venue owners and they say, local shows, like, why would I want to do those?
Yeah.
No one ever shows up.
No one comes to that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's such a simple way to fix that. So you raise a good point. So my belief personally, and our company's belief, is almost any local artist can sell 20 tickets.
Agreed.
And what I mean by that is, like, maybe the guy that just moved to town and has no friends, is a freelancer working from home, doesn't know anyone in his city, and he's a solo artist. Maybe he'll have a way harder time selling 20 tickets.
Right.
But for the most part, and you can Google this stuff, right? You can Google the average number of people a person knows, the average number of people someone has connected in their social network.
Right.
And what you start to find is, the average person knows 60 people. The average online social media network is 200 people.
Right.
And so when you start having 2, 3, 4 members in your band or your rap group, you start to see this power of, collectively, we know 400 people.
Yeah.
So to get 20 of those people who know me, who like me,
Right.
who like the members of my band, to come see them live is actually way easier than a lot of people think.
Right.
And here's one thing. So if you go down to the mall and you just start asking strangers, like, hey, I have a show, do you want to come to it?
Yeah.
They don't care about you.
No.
Right? That's a cold sell. They don't even, honestly, you could go down there and say, hey, will you come have a donut with me or go to coffee with me? And they're not going to want to hang out with you, right? So you have to focus first on your network, the people that know you.
Absolutely.
If someone in your office told you they had a show, you know them, right? You're like, I know this guy. I work with him. I want to hear his voice. Is he good? Does he suck?
Right.
There's this like relationship that's already formed.
Right.
And so that's why when artists tell me like, I can't sell 20 tickets, that's crazy. My response to them is, it sucks to hear you're cutting yourself so short. Like, you are selling yourself short. If you think your music is good and you believe in yourself and you like the way your voice sounds and you wrote songs that are meaningful, then you should be looking at your network of people between you and your band members and saying, 400 people are known between all of us. 20 tickets will be easy. Why don't we shoot for 100 tickets?
Exactly.
And so I think the biggest problem, and it's sad, is most local artists sell themselves short, don't utilize the network they have, and they basically have an attitude of hopelessness.
Right.
And that's something in my own band I felt many times. And once I learned how to hustle the right way, how to promote the right way, how to sell tickets and get people to bring friends, how to meet their friends and draw a lot of people, that kind of starts giving you the confidence. So what I say to a starting out local artist is, you can sell 20 tickets if you want to, and if you do the right things. And once you do that, you have such confidence. You just had 20 people pay to see you perform.
Right.
Now what?
Yeah.
What's the next step? Now I have this confidence. I know people want to see me perform. Next time is 40. Next time is 60 fans. And you start to actually break it down and see that every local band should be drawing 100 people.
Yeah.
They're capable of it, right?
Absolutely. Within a short amount of time. The thing about the 20 tickets that is most important for me that I want to point out for an Afton show is that scores you money. Real money.
That's right.
You sell 20 tickets, you make $50. Just guaranteed. And I'll tell you this, of all the shows I've ever played, I've played a lot of them, hundreds. I can't count how many shows I've played in the course of my life. I've been doing it for 25 years or more. I've played shows where I brought hundreds of people and didn't get paid a dime.
Me too.
As you grow, 30 tickets, 40 tickets, 50 tickets, you get paid more and more for an Afton show. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that's different about what we do versus, if you were to get a gig anywhere else. And I've played shows where I've opened for nationally touring acts and didn't get paid $1. And it was a quote unquote exposure deal. Mm-hmm. I didn't pay to play that show, but I was told I needed to sell tickets. I was told that I need to get the word out. And then in the end of the day, I didn't make $1 off that. Our band didn't make any money on it, but we played in front of 500 people. And that was a great thing, but we didn't see any money. So if you sell 20 tickets and make $50, I personally, from my own experience, think that's a pretty decent deal.
Right, and that was something that when we started was important. I played a lot of shows where I was the same way. I'd draw 50 people, wouldn't get paid any money because the promoter lost money.
Right.
And I'm sitting there saying, why am I not getting paid for the other bands not drawing? So with our pay scale, a big part of it is you are guaranteed that payment even if we lose money. And it happens. Yeah. It happens. We have shows where it just works out. The venue's expensive. We lost $500, but we still sent those band checks no matter what. So having that clear contract of what you get, it doesn't matter what the other bands draw. It doesn't matter if there's a snowstorm. If you draw well, right, you get what we owe you. And that's, again, something that I found the music industry doesn't really go with, right? Usually it's, let's see how the expenses were. No one gets paid tonight.
Exactly.
And that's really what we're about. We're about teaching artists to just believe in themselves, hustle, put in the work that makes them stand out from other people. And I think that's the one simple thing any artist can do. It doesn't matter what your talent level is. It doesn't matter if you've been doing this for 20 years or 2 days. If you want to put in the work and you want to put in the effort and you promote well, then really you can get whatever show you want.
Absolutely. So let's get into some of the tips that we have for you if you're listening to this podcast, because we have a good blog that we have on our website at myafton.com. For me, seeing the difference between someone who didn't believe they could sell tickets to the person that now goes, okay, you're right. There's some, and I've already seen it. Mm-hmm. We put this blog out here about a week ago, and I've already seen the results of people responding to it saying, oh, wow, that actually helps. Right. Now, I've also seen the people that read it and read the first one was like, no way, that's never going to do anything for me. Well, this isn't for you because that means you have a defeatist attitude and you're probably going to be defeatist across the board no matter what you do. Right. So this podcast and this list of tips, if you will, is for the person that really does believe in themselves. And so we kind of put this blog together for that musician, for that group, for that artist, to kind of get them started, to get the ball rolling, if you will. And the first thing is friends and family, like you were saying earlier. I think that if you're not starting there, then you're kind of missing out on the easiest layup of the whole process.
Now, real quick here, guys. We don't want you to bring your grandma. We don't want you to bring your mom, right?
Unless they want to come and party.
Yeah, if they want to come, cool. But what we're really talking about...
If you have a granny that gets down, then yeah, bring her.
That would be fun.
You know what I mean? That would be good times.
That's true. But what we really are focusing on here is, coworkers, your friends, your classmates, people you go to college with, people you party with, your drinking buddies.
Yeah. Your girlfriend or boyfriend.
Yeah. And
because if your girlfriend or boyfriend doesn't want to come to your show, you've got some more problems.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That is very true. Also, when we say family, like cousins and siblings, right?
Right.
I have a brother and a sister, and I can't tell you how many times they came to my shows. But here's the key. My brother and sister didn't come to the show alone. They each brought 4 of their friends. Yes. And then their 4 friends brought their significant others. And before I knew it, my brother and sister led to 22 people coming out.
Yeah.
So, there's this old adage of like, oh man, there's just going to be my family and friends there and my mom. And it's like, you need to think past that. You need to think who's closest to you, who cares about you, who likes your music. Because I tell you what, your brother or your cousin or your girlfriend is going to go to their friends and rave about you.
Totally.
They're going to say, hey, My friend Ryan sings really well. Their songs are awesome. Their shows are fun. They have a couple beers afterwards. Like, you have to come to this show.
Right.
And so it's that word of mouth from the people you know that is better than anything.
Absolutely. And that's really where everybody should start. Once you reach out to those people, you kind of see, you get a really good, honest, response. Sure, your mom's going to say you're great, even if you're not, right? But your friends, you can tell. You can tell when they're BSing you. They're not going to tell you I remember the first show I played with my last band, We Have Guns. Most of the people that came and saw us were people that we knew. And as our fan base grew, it grew from friends and family. Because without that, you don't have a crew. You don't have that root of the tree, if you will. And what you were saying leads us to the second point of, when you tell one person, you're not just selling one ticket. Almost how many times have you gone to a show alone?
Once.
I think I've gone to maybe 2 shows my whole life alone. Because I'll go to a movie theater alone, I'll eat at a restaurant alone, but I will never go to a show alone. That is the saddest feeling on earth.
That's true.
So when you're selling tickets, remember, each person that you talk to is potentially a pair of tickets, not just one ticket. And from there, it could be 2 pairs of tickets if the person that they bring knows a couple people. And so that network, like you were saying, of 1 or 2 people, all of a sudden became 22 people. You would be blown away at how often that happens for local bands. And you wouldn't believe how many times I've brought a friend to a show that I wanted to see, local show, because I love going to local shows, because, there's nothing better than seeing a band in their early days, to be able to say you saw them, that kind of stuff. But you're absolutely right. When you're selling tickets, you're selling pairs. And so when you start talking about 20 tickets for an Afton show, that's 10 people, really. 10 people. I'm sorry, but you got 10 people on your Facebook page.
That's
I know
true.
you do.
That's true.
You've been sitting on your Facebook page adding all these weirdos. You got 10 of those people that you can say, hey, come to the show. And when it comes to the social media, we'll get to that part in a second. But really, 10 people, 20 tickets, that's not too tough of a goal, especially if you have enough time. Now, if you book the show and you have to play next week, that's a tough call. But generally, our shows are booked, a month out at least?
Yeah, at least a month out. I mean, a lot of artists are on 40, 50 days out.
Yeah.
What's crazy, here's the interesting thing. We have a lot of artists booked 55 days out that don't sell any tickets until the day before the show. And then the converse of that, we have someone booked 5 days before the show, and he sells 40 tickets in 5 days. So it all comes down to hustle, what you put into it, how much it matters to you. Timeline helps, but if you're booked 55 days out and you don't do anything, then it didn't really help. You might as well have been booked 4 days before the show.
Right.
So here's an interesting point, too. What I found is I used to play shows and not draw people to them in the early days. And I thought, oh, this is cool. I can play for everyone else's fans. Well, what ended up happening was everyone else's fans would go to the back of the venue at the bar when I got up to play, because no one knows who I am. And what happened? Crickets. I'm standing there with an awkward empty room and 60 people in the back of the bar. Yeah. And I look like a loser, right?
Right.
So one thing I started finding is getting those 15, 20, 30 friends and family, diehard friends of mine to my show. What are they doing? As soon as I come up on stage, they leave the bar and they come up to the front of the stage. They're clapping as I'm setting up. They're saying, let's go Faded. Like, I am so excited. And now everyone back at the bar is like, whoa, who are these guys?
Right,
like,
right.
There's a buzz. And what I would have happen is now everyone would come to the front and I'd play for the entire 120 person room.
Right.
And so you got to remember, guys, the best way to impress everyone else's fans, the bartenders and the security staff, is by having your fan base at the show, like cheering and chanting while you take the stage. And what that does is that sets the mood for everyone in the room to say, hey, this is a band that I'm now I'm now ready to receive their music because they're good, instead of being skeptical. The first thing that will happen when a new fan sees you and no one cares about you is they must suck, right? So you want to go into it with your diehard fan base and your friends right in the front of the stage so you can make a good impression on all the other bands and their fans. One last tip, guys, for the Tell a Friend network. Remember, like, once you sell a ticket to someone, let's say your cousin and his girlfriend buy tickets, right? 30 days ahead of time. They put it on their iCal, right? It's in their phone. They're going, right? If a friend invites them to do something else, they already paid for the ticket.
Right.
That's powerful. The next step is a couple weeks later, hitting up your cousin and his girlfriend and saying, hey, tell you what, do you have any friends you know that want to come to my show? That because you're already going, right? You could give them a ride, whatever. If you get 2 other people to buy tickets for my show, I'll buy you guys a beer at the show, or I'll give you a CD, or I'll give you a shout out. I'll dedicate a song to you, right?
Right.
So remember, once you sell these tickets, guys, the people that bought the tickets are coming. They paid you money. They're coming to the show. The next step is duplicating them, is getting them. So if you use this practice, right, you sell 10 tickets 30 days out, and you tell all those people to bring 2 friends and give them some kind of cool incentive, or just tell them, hey, help me out. Then now you're looking at 20 more ticket sales. And if you repeat that over and over and over, your early sales end up turning into 3, 4, 5, 6 tickets. So what I'm saying is, I know it seems daunting. You know, you got to go out and sell 20 tickets. You got to get people to go to your show. Maybe you're not confident in your music. You know, am I worth $10 or $12? I don't know. You are. Let me tell you that. Right.
Absolutely.
But you're really going to start finding this confidence of just, it's easy. It's like a game, you know, it's like those 2 people bought tickets. I got them to bring 2 friends. Hey, who are you bringing? Can I email them and thank them? And then when you email those 2 new people you don't know, say, hey, you know, James said you're a coworker. You're coming to my show.
Yeah.
I want to meet you at my show.
Yeah.
And do you have any friends that you want to bring?
Right.
And that's how my band went from drawing literally 10 people a show to 100 people a show.
Yep.
And here's the thing, friends and family, right? The old adage, if you're a band that draws friends and family all the time, you're a loser, right? I'd agree. If every single show for 10 years you only bring your family and friends,
right. That's true.
Not cool.
Right.
But the point, guys, is you want to move outward from your family and friends to people they know. And I tell you, if you do this the right way, by the 2nd or 3rd show, you'll be having friends of your friends' friends coming to your show that you don't know. And one of your buddies will be like, you got to meet my friend that works with me. And now all of a sudden, guess what? You have a real fan base. You have the fan base of a touring band, people you don't know, and that's how you get there. So
absolutely. And on that front, if you have a job, it's something we didn't really touch on. If you have a job, see if you can put your flyer up somewhere. Maybe your cubicle, maybe in your kitchen, maybe at your desk. I don't know. Like, just don't feel bad about promoting your show or your band or your music. You know, because the less you say, the less people know. If people are hearing about it all the time, eventually somebody's going to, you know, give in and be like, all right, I got to check this out.
That's true. Yeah.
So don't forget that. And the same goes for where you hang out. You know, if it's a bar or, you know, if it's a club or, you know, I don't know. There's a million places people hang out. Put your flyers there.
So here's my favorite part, guys. Divide and conquer. This tip is awesome. I don't know how many bands I played with where I'd talk to the lead singer and he'd tell me, man, I sold 52 tickets by myself, right?
Which is crazy.
Which is awesome, right?
Yeah.
But
you're a hero.
I'm like, dude, if your other 4 band members would have sold 20 tickets, you would have killed it. So remember, guys, this is a team effort, right? Rap groups, if you guys are out there listening to this, you know you have an entourage. You have 6 members sometimes. You have features. Oh, man. Get a feature in, right? You get your buddy to come feature for promotion for his act. He plays on some of your songs. Have him sell 5 tickets, right? Have him help you promote.
And you do the same for them, by the way.
Exactly.
Always scratch each other's backs.
Exactly. So divide and conquer is huge. Another way to break this down is, let's say you have 4 members in your group. If you each sell 5 tickets, you sold 20 tickets.
Yep.
Here's what I say to that. All 4 of you should be selling more than 5 tickets each. If you have 4 members in your group, you can each sell 10 to 15 tickets with these strategies, and now you just drew 50 people. So I'm hoping that you guys can hear this. Like, it's so easy to draw a lot of people, and you just have to break it down, and it's all about effective promotion that actually drives results. And it's just about doing the things that other people have done and learned from. And that's why we do this. That's why we share this. Is I didn't do this for 14 years. I haven't talked to, thousands and thousands of bands and hundreds of venue owners just to keep this to myself, right?
Right.
I want you guys to be doing this too. And the best part about this is you. This is all about you. Whatever you do at an Afton show, right? If you learn to sell tickets, if you learn to draw 100 people, if you learn to draw 500 people, that is your fan base that you own forever.
Totally.
And if you could play one show for us, and I can teach you that, and Carl can teach you that, and you go on, that our mission is accomplished.
Totally.
Is we just want to see people succeed.
Once you start breaking it down, it becomes super easy to sell those small amount of tickets. And never forget that. Like if you're in a group contributing to a song, everybody's doing their part. Same thing with promotion. Everybody does their part. Now, bass players are different than drummers. Drummers are different than singers. So maybe, some of your members are better at selling than others or promoting better than others, but it's fine. It's totally cool. As long as everybody's chipping in and trying, because without that, again, if you're all in on it, then you should be all in on it on every aspect of that band, of that group, of that song and album and show. So that tactic is one of the most important things, I think, in this list.
When you're selling advance tickets for a show, right, it feels kind of weird. You're like, all right, I'm going to ask people for money. Am I worth it? Is this awkward? Do you want to pay me money? Think about Kickstarter. How many people fund projects, right? They fund products, they fund albums.
Movies.
Kickstarter is this thing where everyone now is used to being like, I'm going to help the little guy fund what he's doing. And what I love about advance tickets, guys, is it's like a tiny Kickstarter for your show. And
totally.
if you kind of look at it in those terms, it's like they're prepaying to help fund this local show that the venue would not allow happen if there wasn't money to pay their staff and keep their doors open. So there's a lot of stuff out there that villainizes ticket sales. And it's like, if you think Kickstarter is a bad thing that's helping all these independent bands and touring bands tour and fund their albums, if you think that's a bad thing for them to ask their fans and people they know for money to help them live their dream, I disagree with you. But I think that most people feel that is awesome. And so kind of feel empowered. It's like, this is my ticket. This is $12 of you saying, I think you deserve to play on stage. Your friends, your fans are basically telling the venue owner, I believe so much in this guy's music. He deserves a chance to play your stage. And here's my $12 to make that happen. And I think once you start thinking in these positive terms, everything will change. I think once you start looking at promotion as a good thing, looking at hustling as a productive thing, look at ticket sales as the way to grow your fan base, I think everything changes and you stop giving excuses and you stop saying I can't and you stop saying I won't put work into this. And honestly, guys, that's where I see a lot of artists fail. Artists don't fail because they're a bad singer or because their songs are bad. They fail because they're not putting in the work in the right ways to grow their fan base. How many artists out there do you think suck? How many artists do you think their songs are horrible? There's a ton of artists I don't like that are making millions of dollars, and it all comes to the fans. So, art is the most important thing. That's why we do this. But almost equally important is making sure there's a fan base supporting you so that you can keep doing what you do.
Absolutely. I would love to hear from artists that have other tips. And if you want to send us an email, what's the email we got set up?
It's podcast@myafton.com. So send us some stuff.
There you go. Again, that's podcast@myafton.com. Send us an email. We'll be reading comments and questions and answering stuff on future podcasts as we get stuff coming through because we would love to hear some of that stuff. We actually have a lot more tips and tricks to get into. So we're going to wrap it and we'll get into part 2 of our tips on the next episode of the podcast. For our very first episode, the maiden voyage of the Afton podcast, I hope you enjoyed listening as much as we enjoyed doing it. It's been a very fun time. Make sure you check back to myafton.com each week for another episode with more advice, tips for you, the musician and artist trying to make your way through the music industry. And until then, keep it loud and proud. I'm Carl.
And I'm Ryan.
Talk to you later.